Hey guys, thanks for clicking in. So in this video, I'm just going to walk through how I use temperature to add dimension and interest to an image. So first I want the shadow in the back to be even more cool, so I made it blue. And then on top of that, I wanted the other shadow to be slightly warmer but not too warm, so it was a brown, a yellow kind of brown. And then when I repeated that exact same brown on the bottom of that cupboard, it looked almost yellow-green, and that's because of the color context that it's in. So this image in general is just a little bit more complex, and so you'll see that I keep going in to change the temperature of certain things because of the way that the color context makes the colors look. Sometimes if you put like a red next to a green, it'll neutralize it, and so it'll look a little bit more cooler, as you see from the brown and the green on the upper left corner. And the color context of these parts also affects the way that our eyes see the value in the color. So maybe a cooler color will look darker in a certain place versus a warmer color. So that purpley red underneath of the glass vent up there, I changed it a little bit cooler because I thought that it would look even darker in that way. The red almost drew too much attention, and so it looked lighter. So once again here, details make the image so much more interesting, and so it adds to the composition as well. So in between all of these objects, you see that there's a general darkness, but then there's also objects behind these jars and bottles, right? And so I needed to pay attention to the temperature because I wanted to see which ones would look cooler, which ones would look warmer, and thus which ones would look further back and which ones would look kind of too much in front. So as you can see on the spice rack, most of those shadows were cooler toned, and so the light parts, I'm making them warmer because also, as you can see, there is a light patch on the wall which insinuates that there is a kind of light coming from the left side of this image, and so it's just brightening up the left sides of those spice shakers. So I'm just pulling you guys in to see some of the details and how I'm coloring it. So you can see I'm coloring in patches, and it's important to remember, especially for me, when it comes to painting reflective surfaces, to treat the image the way you actually see it and not the way you think you see it. So metal isn't always just silver. It has these different reflective surfaces depending on the curve, the angle, and where the light is hitting it. So I'm just mapping it out with some of the lighter colors, and I'm going to go in with different temperatures of browns to show how shiny the metal is. So I'm trying to go for an oil painting kind of aesthetic, and so that's why I like to have a darker base underneath a lot of my objects and then go in on top and almost like carve the object out of it in the light. And then for glass, calm down, don't get intimidated. Think of the reflective surfaces and the shadows that you see on it as just shapes, and then just paint and draw those shapes in, and then it'll come together. You have to get out of your head when it comes to these reflective surfaces. And don't be afraid of weird colors like that orange. Suddenly there's orange on this yellow-green surface. It's because it's the reflection. And you have to pay attention to the temperature once again and the color context. So just try things out, see what works and what doesn't, and you can always take it off and try it again. So now we're also going to pay attention to the color temperature once again, and to use that to do different kinds of shadows. So this wall is kind of pinky looking, so I'm going to go in with a cooler brown and then a cool yellow brown to kind of like push it back and pull it forward, and to add dimension and interest to it, because with just one color everything seems so much more flat. So remember that there are some subtle differences with temperature and value that can just make something look so much more dynamic. And then to tie everything in together, don't be afraid to use filters. I like to use the color mode luminosity because I think that it helps soften the kind of saturation and also the contrast. And then here I wanted to add wisps of air or like smells in the kitchen just because I thought that it would add to a fantasy element. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this video.